Hello everyone, this is Jarrett with SVC. So today we're going to be doing a tech tip for you guys on how to do one of our frame cut bumpers on a Raptor R. So this will be the heat exchanger, where to cut, what to take off, what to remove, wiring harness, all that. So hopefully you guys enjoy it and it helps you guys a little bit easier at the installs. Okay, so as you can see, this truck is actually undergoing a full build, so we've already started to disassemble the front suspension. Ignore that section. What you would obviously need to do to get this off is you will have to pop off the brush guards, so those just pop on out. They're not too difficult. And other than that, we're going to get started we're going to pull off the top little plastic protector up there, and that's with a bunch of the push pins. So go ahead and do those, and definitely put them aside because you'll be reinstalling those later. Now with all those push pins pulled out, we're going to go ahead and remove the shroud. So the next step is you have some wiring harnesses and little small clips on top. You're going to need to go ahead and disconnect those. So be a little careful with them because they need to get reused. So use your trim tool to go ahead and pop those off and get everything separated from the grill. Okay, and then you have a little clip right here. You just kind of squeeze it on the sides, pull it up, and I think, what was that for, what was that, Jake?
What's that?
I don't know what it's for. Just take it out.
Oh, it's for the washer.
Washer
for the front
fluid.
camera.
Front camera. All right. Next up, Jake is going to go ahead and remove this wiring harness, the main one attached to the front of the frame on the passenger side. Easiest way is unclip it, the kind of the Christmas tree clip there from the frame, and then just get up there and just
push that in.
Pop that
down.
There you go.
And that goes apart just like that.
That unclips.
That unplugs.
So now Jake's going to go ahead and remove the 8mm frame support bolt. One from the driver, one from the passenger. So now Jake's going to go ahead and remove on the passenger side the shutter motor wiring harness. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and remove 21mm the bumper actual bolts, the nuts, and you have another one on the inside of the frame as well that you can see when you get up under the truck. And that one pretty much have to do with a regular old hand ratchet. And then you'll do the exact same on the other side of the truck. So now on the passenger side, same deal. Remove the two nuts and on the outer and the one on the inner. And this part helps if you do have a friend when you start to pull the bumper off. Okay, so now with the help of a buddy, go ahead and pull the bumper out a few inches, and there's going to be a little small Christmas tree for the wiring harness. And you're going to go ahead and undo that with your panel popper and kind of feed the big wiring loom out from under it, or up on top actually. And with all the bolts off, your factory bumper should come right off like that. Set aside, pretty simple. Now with the front bumper off, you've got 4 8mm bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to go ahead and remove those and take off the factory shroud, and you're going to discard this. You're not using this again. And then discard. Now you're going to go ahead and remove both sides of the truck. There's 2 brackets. It's a 13mm. And then once those are completed, you're going to take your 15mm socket and remove the recovery hooks. You will not be using these again because you'll be trimming all that frame horn off the Okay, now with the heat exchanger shroud off, you're going to go ahead and open up the valve to release all the coolant out of the heat exchanger. It helps as well to, on top, to open up the cap just so it kind of lets it flow a little better. And then as you can see, you just take the top cap off. It goes a little bit quicker than just using the bottom. There's a fair amount inside, so be patient. Jake is going to remove the clips out of the factory wiring harness to the fans. So there's two little Christmas trees. And then you have your big connector right there. Just push in on the back, pop it out, and all your wiring harness should be done for the fans. With the clips done, you're going to do your 15 millimeters for the mount. So one on driver, one on passenger, and they're kind of like pushed in there, and then it's just going to fall down. You're totally undone. Pull the fan out. Next step, take a 13 mil ratchet, socket, whatnot, and remove the top support brace. You got one on the driver, one on the passenger. This is not getting removed, reused, so go ahead and just discard. So if the old heater exchanger is kind of dangling, you've got a couple little plumbing lines you need to disconnect, so take some channel locks. Yeah, sometimes they're a pain in the ass, but there's one. You know, and it helps too, not doing it all by yourself. If you have a friend that can hold some stuff while you're pulling, it makes life a little bit easier for you. All right, now you're gonna go ahead and prep the frame for cutting. So you got a couple little clips that the mount was on. Just get rid of them, make your life easier. And then what Jake's gonna do, he's gonna mask everything off and he'll draw his cut line. You just use a Sawzall for this next. It does not need to be incredibly precise. You're basically gonna go from this top square, the back side of it, right there, angle down to underneath the back side of that right there. So you want the back on the top to the bottom, so back on the top all the way down to there. And you'll see he'll draw the line for it. Jake's just making a little template here, basically, so that's just going to follow the cut line. So he's basically going to go ahead and be on this side of the line all the way down with a long Sawzall blade. So you just start at the top and just go all the way down and just chop it off. So now with your safety glasses on, get your Sawzall out and have at it. All right, so with one side now cut off, I think it's self-explanatory. Do the other side. So now on both sides, you're going to go ahead and right here down, you're going to remove. So right from that little mount, go over to the frame, and then all the way down, and just remove this little section right there. And you're going to go ahead and do that on both sides. So you're going to go here, over, down. All right, so next up, Jake's going to go ahead and drill out the inner and outer portion of these two lower holes, because that is going to get a 3/4 inch bolt and barely clear. So you just got to kind of open it up just a hair. Literally takes almost nothing.
It's mostly just the outer one.
Yeah. All right, so now what Jake's going to do, he's going to go ahead and put the little supplied sleeve inside, the crush sleeve, and you're going to put the bolt through And then what you're gonna have to do is, you'll see, we're gonna clamp these. We're gonna beat them in with a hammer because you need to narrow them up a bit, and it just helps to keep the bottom size that you need by putting that crush sleeve in first. That's all they need, is a little bit of little persuasion, and you're done.
That's the one thing with it.
So now you're gonna do the same thing, get into the other side. Okay, then the one thing that we do at the shop is we always actually sand everything in here, and we end up tack welding those in place. If you're at home and you don't have a welder, no big deal. Grab some duct tape or painter's tape, whatnot, and just tape all that solid, so when you pull the bolt back out to get the actual bumper on the truck, it's going to go ahead. You're not searching, and that little sleeve is going to fall down. So that's just a little tip for you. So as you see, a couple pieces of painter's tape in there. You put more if you really want. That's going to go ahead and hold it up, and the bolt will come in and out. So that sleeve's going to stay where it's supposed to stay. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take your old bumper, lay it kind of on its stomach there, and you're going to remove pretty much all the backing out of it, because you need to get to the wiring harness. So essentially everywhere you see bolts, just start pulling them off so you can remove the parking sensors and all the OEM wiring harness out of this guy. So now the front part, start pulling everything off the bumper. So then with everything unplugged, you start removing all the Christmas trees, because you need to physically take off the entire wiring loom that's going to be transferred over to the new SVC bumper. So just be patient with this part and just keep plugging away out. Okay, then when you get to some of the actual parking sensors, you can just remove them out of their clips. Keep them plugged into the harness, but out of the mounting clip, just undo it, because you're going to not reuse the plastic mounting clip that Ford gives you. So that way the wiring stays all intact. And there's a lot of little Christmas trees, so this only takes a few minutes, but just patience is key. Okay, so now you're at the factory adaptive cruise. You're going to unplug it, and then you just slide it down out of its mount and set it aside, and you will be reusing it. Alright, so Jake now has the factory wiring harness for the parking sensors removed, and you're going to go ahead and set that aside, and you will be installing it in the new SVC. Alrighty, so the next step you're going to do, you've got a couple 10 mils, right? 10 so a couple 10 millimeter, I think there's 3 in there total. So you just loosen those up, and you will just pull out the factory valence. So make sure you don't lose those, because you will need to reapply them, reinstall. There you go. That just pops out like that. And the same with the other side. 3 bolts and remove it. We already did that other side. So after that, you have some more bolts that are up on top. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to have one right here underneath and another one on the other side. And this front grille should come off.
Show those there. Yeah.
And those are all 10 mil, right? Yeah. All right, so now you're going to go ahead and give it a good tug, kind of down and out, and the front grille is off the truck. Okay, so while Jake's getting his body saw set up, obviously you see the bottom section of the front grille. You're going to go ahead and just cut a straight line right at this opening right here, all the way up. So you're just going to perfectly, you'll see how he does it. And try not to cut the rubber hose. Then you're going to do the same thing over on the other side. Try to be as precise with it as you can. Okay, and then the reason you're doing this is because you want to go ahead and have enough room for the heat exchanger. So now you can pull up on that a little bit, kind of get it off, and then Jake's going to make a cut right on the long side here below that bolt. He's going to cut right there for right now.
Make sure you detach your camera.
Yeah, disconnect the camera so you don't cut the wiring up.
Just that little Christmas tree right there.
And now that whole section should, in theory, pull right off. So now you just discard that. You're not going to use that again. And then you're going to want to go ahead and just trim these little guys.
Helps the bow piece isn't shaking too much.
Yeah, I'll try to hold it for you. So now what he does is just to clean up the cut a little bit. He just angles it, makes it look a little cleaner.
Let me figure out what. Hang on, I'm trying.
Okay, so now it's time to put your ACC bracket on so you can see the front of the grill, how it's sitting. And where it's going to go is right here. Basically right there you'll want to drill your 2 holes, so you can use that as your template, and you just want it to be nice and straight in line right here, just looking directly out. And then the ACC bracket, it has some forward and back adjustability on it, so you could go forward and back when you tighten it, so a little bit of adjustability for up and down, and you could play with it. So Jake's just kind of eyeballing it right now, marking where he wants to draw his drills. What he's going to do is drill holes. And then that is pretty much it for the ACC. The next thing you're going to do, now that you have all the grill all done and everything like that, you can come back over the truck. You're going to remove this valance here. This little Christmas trees, kind of just cut them and yank them out of there. then once this part's done, you're gonna have a friend help you. You're gonna grab the bumper, you're gonna put it up, slide it over the frame horns, and just put your bolts through to hold it up. All right, guys, and the one thing that we forgot to do, so we're letting you know now, the billet shutter motor bracket, you need to bolt that on the bumper before you put the bumper on the truck. So ignore this step, but we're gonna take the bumper back off and bolt that on. But that's basically where that goes. And then the upper bracket goes right there. So basically where the latch mechanism is, you just undo that bolt right there, bolt it down tight, and then you'll bolt the new bracket for the upper mount onto that guy. So we're gonna do that right now. So now you can see the bumper's loosely sitting on the truck like it should be. It still can get moved up and down, so you got room to adjust it, all that fun stuff. And then now you can take your factory wiring harness and start running it through. So you're gonna put it off to the back side so all that gets zip tied right there. Now this truck that we are doing this on, this has a front hoop, and this is covering the two inner sensors. So instead of 4, there's 2. What you normally would do is put all 4 in, obviously, but because this client wanted the front hoop, we're going to put some neoprene like foam over the 2 inner sensors, and that will block them, and you just zip tie them up out of the way. So we're going to run this through now. All right, so now basically we ran our factory wiring harness. We're going to zip tie it all up on the back, but the parking sensors are through. So normally you would have the 2 on each side. And then, we do recommend running a little bit of silicone on the back side of the parking sensor, and it just stays in nice and taut and should last no problem. A nice clean look to it. So this bumper will be coming back off this truck, so we're not going to go crazy with the wiring loom because we got to do a bunch of stuff with the camera for a real custom project. But outside of that, this step is where you would basically be now. So on to the next. All right, so what we have now, Jake went ahead and bolted up the upper shutter motor mount, so that's on there nice and tight. This one obviously will get all set up, ready to go. So now we are going to go start putting the intercooler on the truck, the heat exchanger. We're going to show you how to plumb that, route it, and all that good stuff.
The next step is going to be installing the supplied fittings. You're going to get those on there, and ultimately at the end they'll be clocked just slightly toward the fans. Right about there. Now we are at the point where we want to get the wiring situated. So off the OEM fans, you're going to cut here, and you're essentially going to splice that into here. You're going to cut this off and this off the SVC supplied heat exchanger. And then
that gets connected to there, that gets connected to there, and that plugs into your factory.
perfect.
Just like that.
Once you get your wiring sorted, it's about time to mount the actual heat exchanger to the bumper. First, you're going to want to measure out your foam because you don't want metal on metal when this top plate ultimately gets put right there. So that'll all be pre-cut, pre-measured. Just go ahead and stick that on the heat exchanger. And now that you got that on there, go ahead and throw that top tray on. Those side plates, about ready to go. And then using the 8 1/4-inch bolts supplied, that will clamp down here, there, and then same thing on the other side. Step will be getting your hoses hooked up. So the pump will go to the passenger side fitting, and then the other one will go to your driver's side. We'll supply 2 hose clamps and just use those and clamp them down, and that's the next step.
All right, so now bleeding. Basically, you're just going to go ahead and start using just the Motorcraft coolant. And you just keep going until it literally just kind of starts burping out of the nipple there. Okay, so now as you can see, we poured some in. She's burping, getting the air out. Just kind of let it bleed out a little bit. Just make sure just the air bubbles get out of it. All right, so as soon as you see only coolant with no air bubbles coming out of there, like that, you're just gonna go ahead and tighten up the fitting. And then you're gonna wanna refill again from the top. And then obviously after you start the truck, it's gonna go down a little bit. So you'll wanna go ahead and just keep checking it just to make sure you're good. But all in all, it's a very simple process. Okay, so now that you have the heat exchanger all in and plumbed and all that, the final real step of this before you start reassembling your grill in reverse order, putting the skid plate on with the supplied clips and then bolting it underneath to the lower chassis is, this is the ACC adapter, the ACC plug. You're gonna extend the wires, so there's 4 of them, all the way up to the top of the grill. So, 3 feet or so. Give yourself some extra slack to do it. All right, so now that you've extended your wire, we haven't done it yet, but in theory, that's what you'll have done. Your 4 wires. You're just gonna put the grill back on, start reconnecting everything, put all your Christmas trees in and all your clips and fun stuff that you have. And then the important thing on the side of the truck is, if you look how nice and flush that sits, that's when you wanna go ahead and tighten everything down. And inside, we have the little plastic connectors. Can you grab those, Jake? So they're like little pucks, kind of. So you want to put those to pick up the slack, and that's on the inside of that bolt. So on the inner frame rail, you'll just kind of sandwich it in between, and that picks up that gap, the air gap. You just kind of move it out, slide it in, and now what you do is just make sure you like the fitment of the bumper, everything's in there nice and tight, and then you'll just start hammering everything down. As far as torque goes, on those things, those are 3/4. I mean, go as hard as you want on those things. So other than that, guys, it's a pretty simple install. Your cruise control bracket's going right there, and you are all good.